Hey, welcome into Purple Daily. Phil Mackey, Judd Zulgad, Declan Goff producing, and this is probably a bit of a panic button question, but it's something that we have to talk about. What if COVID winds up sidelining Kirk Cousins? Whether he actually feels symptoms or not, I think it's worth discussing the impacts of COVID and what could happen procedurally with the Vikings and how do you feel depth-wise. But first, a quick thank you to Federated Insurance, helping Purple Daily and the Mackey and Judd podcast as well stay alive here during a tough 2020 year. And also for the past 15 years, Federated Insurance has made a strong commitment to youth mentoring through Big Brothers Big Sisters. They've helped facilitate the raising of $38 million since 2004, all going to Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is a great and powerful one-on-one mentoring program. To find out more about Big Brothers Big Sisters and Federated and the work that they do, federatedchallenge.org. That's federatedchallenge.org. So, all right.
You like that? You like that?
I'm just gonna ask the question.
Yeah.
What if Kirk Cousins gets COVID? Not like, knocked on his ass with symptoms. I mean, that would be terrible, and we're all trying to avoid that here, and we're all trying to stay safe and protect people. But what we're finding here as you go through the NBA, because the NBA is about to return to its bubble here in July, and so we're starting to get testing numbers back, and it looks like going into the bubble, about 5% of NBA players have tested positive to this point. And so we'll see what happens when they're all sort of commingling. Football is a contact sport. So even if you don't feel symptoms, which is likely the case for strong athletes in their 20s and 30s, you're still almost certainly going to be sidelined for a mandatory 2-week quarantine unless some of the guidelines start to change. So have we thought about this? Like, I'm sure the Vikings have, but like Sean Mannion is great as a sort of a pseudo assistant coach, but what's the likelihood that Kirk Cousins could wind up feeling fine, but hey, we got to keep you away from the locker room for 3 games potentially,
right.
2 weeks or 3 games.
And if he gets it and is symptomatic with it, he still has to be away from the team because you can't then expose the rest of his teammates. And just as importantly, his coaches, who are certainly not young men across the board to it. I think, Phil, that every team that has designs on trying to win in 2020 has had to ask this question about key players. And that obviously starts with your quarterback. And I think, furthermore, that you don't just ask the question. I think you assume it happens. Because if this was, well, if he gets it and he shows symptoms, that's really going to be bad. But this isn't that. This is a simple, what if he tests positive and says, but I feel great, you have to sideline him and quarantine him. So starting with your question, what if Kirk Cousins gets this? I think the answer is very simple. There is a guy right now, and yes, it would create controversy, but the more I think about this on a 1-year contract, Cam Newton, now gone to the Patriots, there is still a guy out there who is better than Sean Mannion, and his name is Colin Kaepernick. I think the case to sign Kaepernick, if you have designs on trying to be a good team, and God forbid your quarterback gets sick, if your quarterback gets it and doesn't show signs, I think it's going to be 2 weeks done. If he shows signs, he could be done for 6 weeks or more.
So, I am all about Colin Kaepernick getting a second. It's funny saying like a second chance in the NFL. I mean, he could argue that he probably should never have been booted from the league anyways. There's a lot of garbage backup quarterbacks out there. And so I think at some point Cam's going to get a shot. In this particular instance, and I would root for it to happen with the Vikings. I think Minnesota, I certainly don't think every fan would accept it. I think there's a lot of fans that would vow to quit watching the Vikings, and we posted a Colin Kaepernick video/podcast episode here on Purple Daily about a month ago, and albeit it was our most viewed of a dead period of Vikings football here, it was also the one that people unsubscribed the most to and vowed to never listen to our show again.
Like my Twitter followers down a little bit.
How dare we even mention Colin Kaepernick in a discussion about Vikings football? And so my one question, though, would be if something happens to Kirk, and it's like, boom, it's kind of immediate. He tests positive on a Thursday or something, and boy, you just need a guy to step in on short notice, not for like the rest of the season, but for 2 or 3 weeks. How drastically different would your offensive game plan have to be going from what you would design for Kirk Cousins versus what you would design for Colin Kaepernick, which is, if you're maximizing both, Cousins is very much, all right, an insulated, pocket passer or roll out with protection over here.
Right.
And Kaepernick, you would think would be, all right, let's play to his strengths, mobility, read option, et cetera, et cetera. Is he the type of dude that could come in stylistically and just fit with what the Vikings are trying to accomplish?
It might be tough at first, but let's say Kirk's done for 6 weeks. I think the assumption should be that you're going to lose star players to this for an extended period of time. And don't forget, too, I believe that one of the looks post San Francisco that Colin Kaepernick got was, if I'm not mistaken, then Gary Kubiak's offense in Denver, because the thought process there was that he might be a good fit. So I guess my question is could Kubiak quickly morph the principles of his offense a bit from Cousins friendly to Kaepernick friendly? But I think the most important discussion here, especially about baseball and football, is because they're not going to play inside a bubble, more people are going to get this. Mm-hmm. They are. It's going to be impossible. Guys are going to be going home. They're going to be dealing with their family, which is going out, right? And so if you went the basketball route and we're in a bubble, I might be like, well, it might be better there. But with football, I think across the board for 2020, the assumption should be there are certain positions at which we have to be ultra prepared, not just for guys to get hurt, but also to get sick. And the Kaepernick signing intrigues me, because if you came to me right now and said, Mannion has to play or Kaepernick, I'm going to take my chance with Colin Kaepernick.
Could I also bring up, like, independent of Colin Kaepernick, what Major League Baseball is doing is they're clearly foreseeing some guys are going to test positive, and so we can't just have the 26-man rosters that we were originally going to have. They're going to start the season with 30-man active rosters, and then down to 28, and then down to 26 after like a month or whatever.
Sure.
But you'll have up to a 60-man taxi squad. Ordinarily, you have a 40-man expanded roster that you can pull players from and send guys up and down minor leagues. They're saying, all right, let's take it from 40 to 60 and have an additional pool of players that aren't even signed right now. And just let's just have players available, whether they're in your system or outside your system, in case guys test positive for COVID. You're not going to have to trot out like 7 dudes. Like, all right, we have 1 outfielder and no shortstop today. It's going to be great.
Right. Pitcher's hand, we're playing.
The NFL is going to have to think about this stuff too, because most teams have 3 quarterbacks, but 2. Either like a guy on a practice squad and then 2 on the active roster. Mm-hmm. I mean, does it make sense? Not that there's enough competent quarterbacks in the world to play at an NFL level to have like 4 guys on a roster, but aren't you almost certainly going to have access to like 4 quarterbacks per team if your backup tests positive, if your starter tests positive?
Yep.
Like the NFL is going to have to come up with some way to expand rosters or at least practice squads, right?
And if you want to win, my suggestion is attempt to identify the best possible backups that you can and get them.
Well, you should be doing that anyways.
Right, but ordinarily in Cousins' case, you probably think, well, the one thing throughout his career that he's shown is durability, and he doesn't get hurt. And Mannion's an okay guy as far as a player goes, but he's good in the room, right? He's good, and he'll help Kirk, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he's there to help Kirk
and
be
he's
better.
not a threat to Kirk, which I think at Kirk's world is important, but I think for the coming season has to be thrown out. And what you have to say is God forbid Kirk and Thielen and take a pick, Harrison Smith go down. What are the options behind them? And now I think you realistically have to say that could happen.
Yes.
If one guy in a locker room or a room where these guys meet gets this, everyone's going to have to be tested, and there will be guys who get it. And so this goes from injury concerns, which of course exist on a yearly basis, to injury and health concerns. And I'm just thinking, if you say to yourself, okay, Kirk's got it, and now we are in for a month of Sean Mannion starting games. Really?
You know, we're rightfully so. I think we're focused on the quarterback aspect of COVID, but like if Danielle Hunter gets COVID, whether he feels symptoms or not and has to sit out for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, like that's a problem. If Adam Thielen gets it, Dalvin Cook, like there's a lot of different positions. Offensive line, if Brian O'Neill gets it, right? Yeah. I'll give you another one.
Okay.
What if Dan Bailey gets it? Wouldn't that be the most Vikings thing where you're strolling along, everything's going great, you're back in the playoffs, You've even won a playoff game.
Who's backup kicker?
And all of a sudden, Dan Bailey
Who's
gets
the next
COVID.
kicker, Phil?
Blair Walsh is available if you want someone to just rip the Band-Aid off and miss wide left.
He
Just
quote
get it over
tweeted
with.
something with Cam Newton yesterday going to the Patriots too or something. Apparently the Patriots had contacted Blair Walsh or he made some cryptic tweet.
Oh, Blair
I saw.
Walsh did?
Yeah, I saw some cryptic tweet.
You still
from
follow Blair Walsh on
I
social
saw,
media?
I saw it on Reddit.
Okay.
Thank God our friends at Skull Reddit keep me up to loop
he
on all
block
that.
you?
Not yet. He's not on my block list yet, but I'm sure he's close. I'm sure he's very close.
But yeah, I do think that it makes sense that every team is going to have some type of discussion about its star players. This
Kirk Cousins should not be like whatever the bubble the NFL team is in.
Yep.
Your starting quarterback should be like.
How about this suggestion?
In a bubble suit at practice.
How about this? Yes. How about this? A reality-based TV show where each team can take, let's say, 8 to 10 star players and put them in the bubble, and then film it.
Are you
Because
saying?
like if my backup left guard gets it, I'm just going to say, yeah, go home,
Are
right?
you saying 8 to 10 guys on a team?
Yes, per team,
So like
reality
Danielle
show.
Hunter,
Yes,
Kirk
Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook.
So the team's in a bubble.
So
and then
those
these guys
guys
are in a separate bubble.
Separate
from the
bubble
team,
from the team. Yes,
Because I don't want Pat Elflein giving Danielle Hunter COVID.
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah. But I'm just trying
Yeah.
to think of a way to isolate and keep a group of players who, if they get this, your team is absolutely screwed.
Can you get COVID through a sumo suit?
Wasn't it someone else using that said sumo suit?
No, it would be your sumo suit.
So like you bought it brand new.
Yeah,
and
you
it's
can,
yours, it's
'cause
not
you're
Can we put
rented.
Danielle Hunter in a sumo
But you're
suit?
breathing. I think you need the mask. The mask is the key, right?
Okay. There's also talk that the
Darth
NFL
Vader suit,
that
Phil.
they're going to have like different helmets for 2020.
Yeah, I saw
that are
them.
fully enclosed.
I don't know how that works.
You look like Star
Peripheral
Troopers or something.
vision is gone, though, right? There's no way that you could see out of the corner of your eye.
Wouldn't they? I'm assuming they would put like
I don't like it.
a shield or
I
something.
don't like it.
They
I
would-
like the idea of
they
a
would just, like,
reality
block your
show.
vision.
A reality show with 8 to 10 players quarantined.
I would watch it. I mean, I was ready to watch the Big 3 reality show until that got shut down by COVID.
Can you imagine that show, though? Tom Brady with the Buccaneers
Well, they're already
isolated.
Tom Brady.
He doesn't
There's
care.
like 8 Buccaneers already in their own bubble, basically, just eschewing the
The
NFL's
fact that Brady
recommendations.
does not care is so Brady.
And if you're Brady at this point, like when Tom Brady is 70 years old and looking back on all the things that people are going to judge him for, having a practice or two, maybe skirting COVID rules, I think he's got it right. People are going to rip him if he doesn't win a championship, and so he's saying, "Listen,
So
you
they're
guys are going
gonna-
to rip me either way." So
Tom Brady died, but damn it, he did it trying to win a championship. That was really worth it. So are you, if you are Spielman and the boys, are you going to go try and upgrade at backup QB based on what we just talked about?
well, I would be trying to upgrade backup QB,
Right, but I'm saying-
period,
but I'm saying
because I don't
based-
think Sean Mannion's a good NFL starting
But
quarterback.
based on this concern also being added to the equation.
Yes. At the very least, I would make sure that the two guys sitting behind Kirk Cousins, and they have more info about Sean Mannion at practice. Like, we don't get to watch Sean Mannion at practice. Not that he's getting a million reps, but and we get to watch him in training camp, but not like day-to-day practice. They have more information than we do. I do trust their evaluation of Mannion as a part of the entire operation compared to what they thought about Kyle Sloter. The Kyle Sloter stuff last year was nuts to me. Like, every NFL team has passed on Kyle Sloter multiple times. And like the Cardinals decided, we haven't had a quarterback ever. Like, we got Kyler Murray now, but
Right.
like, so I'm not saying that like, well, you should just have Kyle Sloter come. I think you should make sure that the two guys that you have behind Kirk Cousins,
Yep.
maybe even 3 guys, that if they have to play a full game or 2, that you can patchwork things together with one or multiple of them. And if it means like literally having one guy play one half and the other guy play the other half or something, like whatever that looks like, make sure you're
Wow.
confident in those guys
A
playing.
COVID plan.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A COVID game plan.
I might even have
COVID-19 game plan, Phil.
I might even have like when the Vikings had to turn to Joe Webb for that playoff game, and this is 2012, and they were woefully underprepared schematically for Joe Webb to come in and run read options. Like, they could have used him much differently. They could have used him the way that they did the first series, the whole game.
Yep.
I would almost have like that type of a game plan in my back pocket. I would have like a mobile quarterback changeup guy, maybe that's Kaepernick,
Yep.
as my backup, so that when Kirk Cousins catches COVID or has to sit out, I've got this entire new system I can just like inject in for 2 or 3 weeks. And it doesn't have to be like a wall-to-wall phone book size playbook.
So you've got
I'm running
game
read
by
option
game,
for 2 weeks. I'm going to throw the opponent
side
off
by
their
side
game. Yep.
plans.
Yes.
Why didn't they continue to run that first series offense against the Packers in 2012? I'll never understand that one, by the way.
It didn't make any sense.
I was there and I'm watching it and I'm like, the Packers don't know what to do. This is one of the greatest. Muskie's come through. Muskie's got a great idea. And then it was like second series on, let's go back to the Ponder game plan.
We'll just drop back.
He'll be
Joe
fine.
Webb will just drop back
He'll be
and
great.
throw darts all over the field.
Poor Joe Webb.
Good.
All right.
All right. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Purple Daily. Thanks for hanging out with us. Give us a subscription on our YouTube page if you could, youtube.com/scorenorth. Drop a line in the comments. How do you feel about the Vikings backup quarterback situation if Kirk Cousins were to have to sit out for a couple of weeks? Let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time.